Welcome back, my friends. I'm Alex, and today I want to tell you a story. A story that might completely change the way you think about learning English. A story about a woman who discovered something that transformed her entire life. And the most interesting part? It only took 20 minutes a day. But before I begin, let me ask you something very important. How many of you have felt afraid to speak English? Maybe you understand it when you listen. Maybe you can read it perfectly. Maybe you can write it beautifully. But when it comes to speaking, something happens. Your throat gets tight. Your mind goes blank. Your palms start sweating. And you just freeze. If this sounds familiar, if you have felt this fear, please know you are not alone. Millions of people feel exactly the same way. And today's story is about a woman named Sarah who felt this fear every single day of her life. For years, Sarah believed she would never speak English confidently. But one simple habit, one powerful decision changed absolutely everything. Let me take you back to the beginning. Part 1. Sarah's Fear. Sarah was 28 years old. She lived in a small apartment in Mexico City. The apartment had a balcony where she could see the city lights at night. She worked as a marketing coordinator at a technology company. On the surface, everything in Sarah's life looked perfect. She had a good job. She had friends who loved her. She had a family who supported her. She had a life that many people would dream of. But there was one thing, just one thing, that made her feel trapped. That one thing was English. You see, Sarah's company was growing very fast. Every month, the company was expanding into new countries. Every month, more international clients were coming. Every month, more meetings were happening in English. And Sarah felt suffocating. Not because English was difficult, not because she didn't know the words, but because she was terrified of speaking it. Sarah had studied English for years. She had studied it in school. She had studied it in university. She had taken private lessons. She had downloaded apps on her phone. She had watched videos on YouTube. She could understand English movies without subtitles. She could read English books. She could read English articles and understand them perfectly. But speaking was completely different. Speaking was her nightmare. One afternoon, Sarah was working at her desk. She was reading emails and responding to clients. Everything was normal. Everything was routine. But then her manager, Mr. Chin, walked over to her desk. He had a big smile on his face. Sarah immediately felt nervous because she knew that smile. That smile meant something important was coming. "Sarah," Mr. Chin said, "can we talk in my office?" Sarah's heart started beating faster. She followed him into his office. They sat down. Mr. Chin looked very happy, very excited. He said, "Sarah, I have great news for you. The company is starting a new international project, a very important project. We are expanding to Canada and Australia. We need someone to be the main contact person with the teams in those countries, someone who can communicate with them every day, someone who can lead discussions, someone who can solve problems quickly." Sarah listened. She could feel her heart beating in her ears. "I think you are perfect for this position," Mr. Chen continued. "You are smart. You are organized. You understand the company's vision. And honestly, Sarah, this is a great opportunity. This project will give you experience. This project will help your career grow. What do you think?" Sarah's mouth became dry. This was the opportunity she had always wanted. She had dreamed about leading projects. She had dreamed about advancing in her career. She had dreamed about proving herself. But this opportunity came with one terrible requirement: speaking English every single day with native speakers in real conversations with people who spoke English their entire lives. Mr. Chen, Sarah said slowly, I'm very grateful. This is an amazing opportunity, but I'm worried about my English speaking skills. I'm not confident. What if I make mistakes? What if the Canadian and Australian teams don't understand me? Mr. Chen smiled again. He put his hand on her shoulder. Sarah, I have heard you speak English many times. Your English is good. Your English is better than you think. The problem is not your English. The problem is your confidence. You're afraid of making mistakes. But making mistakes is how people learn. Everyone makes mistakes when they speak. Even native speakers make mistakes. What matters is that you try. What matters is that you keep going. Think about it, he said. Take 1 week. Think about whether you want this opportunity. And if you want it, we can discuss the details. That evening, Sarah went home. She took the bus. She looked out the window at Mexico City passing by. The streets were crowded. The sun was setting. The city looked beautiful, but Sarah didn't feel beautiful. She felt small. She felt scared. She opened her apartment door. She went inside. She sat on her bed. She looked at herself in the mirror. She asked herself a very difficult question. Why am I so afraid? She whispered to her reflection. Sarah thought about her life. She thought about all the things she could do. She could do math. She could do accounting. She could do marketing. She could write emails. She could write reports. She could organize meetings. She could do all these things confidently. But speaking English? For some reason, speaking English felt impossible. She opened her laptop and typed into Google, "How to overcome fear of speaking English." Hundreds of results appeared. Expensive courses for $300. Speaking classes for $50 per hour. Exchange programs that cost thousands of dollars. YouTube channels with millions of views. Books about public speaking. Everything required money. Everything required time. Everything seemed so complicated. Sarah closed the laptop. She looked out her window at the city lights. She thought about Mr. Chen's words. She thought about her dream. She thought about her career. She knew she had to do something. She knew that if she didn't take this opportunity, she would regret it for the rest of her life. Tomorrow, she thought, I need to find a way. Part 2. The Discovery. The next morning, Sarah woke up early. She couldn't sleep well because she was thinking about the job opportunity. She got out of bed. She made breakfast. She was eating breakfast when her phone rang. It was her friend Maria. Maria lived in Canada now. They had been friends since university. They hadn't talked in many months. It had been so long that Sarah almost forgot Maria's voice. Sarah, hi, how are you? Maria's voice was so warm, so natural, so full of joy. For a moment, Sarah was confused. She didn't know what to say, but then she answered naturally. Maria, oh my God, hi, I'm so happy to hear from you. How are you? How is Canada? And something strange happened. Sarah didn't think about grammar. She didn't worry about pronunciation. She didn't analyze her sentences. She just talked. She talked like she was talking to a friend in Spanish. She talked naturally. I'm good, Maria said. I'm really good. I got a new job. I'm working for a company that does software development. It's amazing. I've been here in Canada for 2 years now, and I still can't believe it. The life is so good here. That's wonderful, Sarah said. Tell me everything. How do you like Canada? Is it cold? Do you have friends? Are you happy? They talked. They talked for 20 minutes. They talked about Maria's new job, about the weather in Canada, about Sarah's company, about their families, about their dreams. They talked about everything. And Sarah spoke English for 20 minutes straight. 20 minutes of natural, flowing, easy English. Maria understood every single word. When they finished the call, Sarah sat in silence. Her coffee was cold. She had forgotten about it. She sat and thought about what had just happened. She had just spoken English for 20 minutes. And it was easy, it was natural, it was actually enjoyable. Sarah realized something very important. When she was talking to Maria, she wasn't afraid. She didn't think about mistakes. She didn't worry about grammar. She just communicated. She shared her feelings. She listened to Maria. She asked questions. She answered questions. She did all the things that humans do when they communicate. But when she thought about speaking in her office, when she thought about speaking to her boss or to strangers, she felt terrified. Why was there such a big difference? Sarah thought about it for a long time, and then she understood. Speaking to Maria felt like a conversation between friends. It felt natural. It felt like communication. It felt like two people sharing their lives. But speaking in the office, speaking to business people, speaking to strangers, it felt like a test. It felt like judgment. It felt like performance. It felt like 1,000 eyes were watching, waiting for her to make a mistake. That's when Sarah made a decision that would change her entire life. If I can talk naturally to Maria, Sarah said to herself, then I can talk naturally to anyone. I just need to practice. I need to practice not studying English. I need to practice using English. I need to practice speaking like I'm talking to a friend. That night, Sarah did something completely unusual. She did something that would become her most powerful habit. Part 3. The 20-minute habit begins. The next morning, Sarah woke up at 6 o'clock. She didn't go to work immediately. Instead, she sat in her kitchen. She made a cup of coffee. She sat at her small table by the window, and she did something very strange. She started talking to herself in English. Good morning, Sarah, she said out loud. Her voice sounded strange in the quiet apartment. Today is a beautiful day. The weather is sunny. The sky is blue. I can see the city from my window. She felt silly, very silly, but she continued. I have a meeting today at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to wear my blue dress. The blue dress makes me feel confident. I need to finish the marketing report. I hope everyone will be kind to me at work. She spoke slowly. She spoke clearly. She spoke like she was talking to a friend, not like she was reading a textbook, not like she was translating from Spanish. She talked about her apartment. She talked about her breakfast. She talked about her feelings. She talked about her dreams. Simple sentences, easy words, but spoken out loud from her mouth into the air. 20 minutes. She looked at the clock. Exactly 20 minutes had passed. And when she stopped, she felt something surprising. She felt relief. She felt accomplishment. She felt proud of herself. "I did it," she whispered. "I spoke English for 20 minutes, and the world didn't end. No one died. I'm still here. I'm still alive. And I spoke English." She smiled. For the first time in weeks, she smiled about English. The next day, she did it again. But this time, she did something different. She created a conversation in her mind. She was sitting on the bus on her way to work. It was crowded, but no one was paying attention to her. Sarah closed her eyes, and in her mind, she created a complete conversation. In her imagination, she was in a coffee shop. Her manager, Mr. Chen, was sitting across from her at a small table. "Good morning, Sarah," her imaginary Mr. Chen said. "How are you today?" "I'm doing well, thank you," Sarah answered out loud quietly, so the people on the bus couldn't hear her clearly. "I finished the marketing report yesterday, just like you asked." "That's excellent," her imaginary manager said. "And how do you feel about the new international project? The one with the Canadian and Australian teams?" Sarah's heart was racing. Even in her imagination, she was nervous. But she answered anyway. "I'm excited, but I'm also nervous," she said. "But I'm ready. I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to work with the team." "That's exactly the attitude we need," her imaginary boss said. "Welcome to the team." The conversation continued in her mind. Questions and answers, back and forth, like a real conversation. And for 20 minutes, Sarah was no longer afraid. She was just practicing. She was just having a conversation. Day after day, week after week, this became her habit. Every morning, 20 minutes. Sometimes she talked to herself in her apartment. Sometimes she created conversations on the bus. Sometimes she imagined meeting new people at coffee shops. Sometimes she imagined job interviews. Sometimes she imagined calling customers. But always 20 minutes. No less. No excuses. She had a rule, a very simple rule. I will speak English for 20 minutes every single day, no matter what. If I'm sick, I will still speak. If I'm tired, I will still speak. If I don't feel like it, I will still speak. 20 minutes every day. Part 4. The Transformation. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. And something started to happen. Something wonderful started to change inside Sarah. First, Sarah noticed that English stopped feeling like a foreign language. It stopped feeling like something from outside her body. It started feeling like a tool she could use, like driving a car or writing an email or making breakfast. She didn't have to think about it. She could just do it. Second, Sarah noticed that her confidence grew. Not because she suddenly knew thousands of new words, not because she had taken a fancy course, but because she practiced speaking without fear. She spoke when she was tired. She spoke when she was confused. She spoke when she didn't know what to say. She spoke anyway. And every time she spoke, she survived. She realized that the thing she feared the most, it didn't hurt her. It didn't destroy her. It just helped her grow. Third, Sarah noticed that real conversations started feeling easier. One day, one of her colleagues from the Canadian office called her unexpectedly. This was not a practice conversation. This was real. This was a native English speaker calling her on the phone. A year ago, a call like this would have terrified Sarah. She would have made excuses. She would have said, "I'm busy. Can you call back later?" But now, she answered it naturally. She didn't panic. She didn't freeze. "Hi, Sarah. I hope I'm not disturbing you. I wanted to check on the progress with the new marketing campaign." And Sarah answered without hesitation, without fear. "Hi. No, you're not disturbing me at all. Actually, I was just finishing the report. I have some really good news for you." They talked about the campaign. They talked about ideas. They talked about challenges. They talked about solutions. They talked for 30 minutes. And when the call ended, Sarah felt amazing. She felt powerful. She felt proud. She had just had a professional conversation in English with a native speaker. And it went perfectly. More than perfectly. 1 month after starting this habit, something bigger happened. Sarah was invited to join a video call with the entire international team. This wasn't just one person. This was 12 people, 12 native English speakers from Canada, Australia, USA, the United Kingdom, and other countries. All of them had been speaking English their entire lives, and Sarah was terrified again. Very terrified. But she had an idea. She had a strategy. The night before the meeting, she practiced for 1 full hour, not studying, not memorizing, just having conversations with herself. She imagined every possible question they might ask. She prepared answers. But more importantly, she prepared herself mentally. She told herself, "Sarah, you have been practicing for months. You can do this. You are ready." The next day, the video call started. Sarah could see 12 faces on her screen, 12 professional people, 12 native speakers. Sarah's hands were shaking. She had to put them under the table so no one could see. Her manager, Mr. Chin, started the meeting. He explained the project. He explained the goals. Then he said, "Sarah is leading the marketing strategy for this project. Sarah, can you share your thoughts on the campaign?" All 12 faces turned and looked at Sarah on the screen. Sarah's heart was beating so fast she thought it might explode. She had a moment of panic. She had a moment where she wanted to say, "I'm sorry, I don't speak English very well." But she didn't say that. Instead, she took a deep breath and she spoke. "Thank you, Mr. Chin. Hello, everyone. I have been working on this campaign for 3 weeks, and I want to share my ideas with you." She spoke for 5 minutes. She explained her ideas. She talked about the target market. She talked about the strategy. She talked about the timeline. She used words like demographic and engagement and conversion rate. Professional words. Difficult words. And she said them correctly. When she finished, something amazing happened. Everyone on the screen smiled. Everyone nodded. The person from Australia said, "Sarah, these ideas are brilliant. I really like your approach." The person from Canada said, "Sarah, thank you for this detailed analysis. This is exactly what we needed." The person from the USA said, "Sarah, great work. I think your strategy is going to work really well." Sarah felt tears coming to her eyes. Not tears of sadness, tears of joy, tears of relief, tears of accomplishment, because she had just proved something to herself. She could do it. She could speak English. She could be successful. She could belong. Part 5, the bigger test. 3 months later, Sarah was invited to attend an international conference, a real conference, with hundreds of people from around the world. The conference was about technology and innovation. It was held in a big city. Sarah had to take a plane. She had never traveled alone for a business trip before. She was terrified. This wasn't a company meeting where people knew her. This was complete strangers, lots of strangers, people from different countries, people who all spoke English fluently, and Sarah would be surrounded by them for 3 entire days. But she had her habit. Every morning, 20 minutes. She didn't stop practicing. She couldn't stop practicing because the habit had become part of who she was. It was like brushing her teeth. She didn't think about it. She just did it. At the conference, something unexpected and wonderful happened. Sarah was sitting alone at lunch in the conference restaurant. She was eating a salad and feeling nervous about everything. Then a woman sat down at her table. The woman was in her 40s. She had a warm smile. She looked friendly. "Hi, is it okay if I sit here?" the woman asked. "Of course," Sarah said immediately. She was glad for the company. She didn't want to sit alone anymore. "Thank you. I'm Patricia, by the way. I'm from Australia. I work for a technology company in Sydney." "Hi, Patricia. I'm Sarah. I'm from Mexico City. I also work for a technology company." And they started talking. They talked about their jobs. They talked about their lives. They talked about what brought them to the conference. They talked about technology trends. They talked about challenges in their work. And by the end of lunch, 1 hour had passed. 1 full hour of conversation. Natural, flowing, interesting conversation. Before they left the table, Patricia gave Sarah her business card. "Sarah, I really enjoyed talking to you. You have great insights about marketing. Let's stay in touch. Maybe we can work together on something in the future." Sarah took the business card with shaking hands. She had just made a real friend, a professional friend, someone from Australia, someone who spoke English as a native language, someone who valued her ideas, someone who wanted to stay in touch. That evening, Sarah called her family. She told them what happened. She told them about Patricia. She told them about the conference. Her mother said, "Sarah, I'm so proud of you. I always knew you could do this." And Sarah cried. Happy tears. Part 6, the new Sarah. 1 year later, Sarah was leading the international team. She was the main person in charge of the project. She was on video calls every day. She was traveling to different countries. She was meeting people from all over the world. And English? English was no longer something she was afraid of. English was something she loved. English was something she was good at. One day, a young woman from her team came to her office. The young woman looked very nervous. She closed the door. She sat down in the chair across from Sarah's desk. "Sarah," she said quietly, "can I ask you something personal?" "Of course." Sarah said, smiling. You can ask me anything. How did you become so confident speaking English? The young woman asked. I really want to improve my speaking, but I'm so afraid. I freeze when I have to speak. My mind goes blank. How did you overcome this fear? Sarah smiled. She remembered the girl she used to be. Afraid, doubtful, paralyzed. She remembered the sleepless nights. She remembered the anxiety. She remembered thinking, I will never be able to do this. I have a secret, Sarah said. A very simple secret. But it's not a magic trick. It requires consistency. It requires discipline. Are you ready to hear it? The young woman nodded eagerly. Every morning, for 20 minutes, I speak English, Sarah said. I don't study it. I don't memorize grammar. I don't watch videos. I just speak it. I create conversations. I talk to myself. I imagine situations. I practice having real conversations. Only 20 minutes? The young woman asked, surprised. That's all? Sarah nodded. Only 20 minutes, every single day. No excuses. No breaks. No, I'm too busy today. No, I'm too tired. No, I'll do it tomorrow. Just 20 minutes, every single day. But Sarah, the young woman said, that seems so simple. How can something so simple create such big changes? That's exactly right, Sarah answered. It is simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. Simple doesn't mean you don't need discipline. Simple just means that the method is not complicated, and consistency is more powerful than anything else in the world. Sarah leaned forward. She spoke with intensity. Most people, they think success comes from doing something huge. They think they need to take expensive courses. They think they need to live in an English-speaking country. They think they need some magical method. But that's not true. Success comes from doing something small every single day. 20 minutes every day is more powerful than 10 hours once a week. 20 minutes of speaking is more powerful than 20 hours of studying grammar. The young woman was listening carefully. Sarah could see the hope in her eyes. Let me tell you what 20 minutes every day means, Sarah continued. 20 minutes today, 20 minutes tomorrow, 20 minutes next week, 20 minutes next month, 20 minutes for an entire year. That is over 120 hours of speaking English. That is more than 5 complete days of speaking English. And when you have 5 complete days of practice, your brain changes, your confidence changes, your skills change. I want to try, the young woman said. I want to start this habit. Good, Sarah said. Start tomorrow morning. 20 minutes. That's all. But you must be consistent. You must not miss a single day. Even if you only have 15 minutes, that's better than nothing. But try for 20. Push yourself for 20. The young woman left Sarah's office. Sarah hoped that she would actually do it. She hoped that the young woman would discover what Sarah had discovered. That English wasn't something to be afraid of. English was just a tool for communication, and with practice, anyone could learn to use it. Closing. And my friends, that is the lesson I want you to remember today. That is the message I want to leave with you. Success doesn't come from doing something amazing once. Success comes from doing something simple, something very simple, every single day. 20 minutes. Just think about it. What is 20 minutes? It's less than the time you spend on social media every morning. It's less than the time you spend watching videos on YouTube. It's less than the time you spend in your commute to work. It's less than a typical television show. It's such a small amount of time. But imagine 20 minutes every day for one entire year. Imagine that. 1 year, 365 days, 20 minutes each day. That is over 120 hours. That is more than 5 complete days of speaking English. And when you have 120 hours of practice, something incredible happens. Your brain rewires itself. Your confidence explodes. Your ability transforms. So here is what I want you to do. Starting tomorrow morning, make a commitment. Not to me, not to anyone else. A commitment to yourself. Commit to 20 minutes. Just 20 minutes. Speak English every day. Don't study it. Don't analyze it. Don't worry about perfection. Just speak. Create conversations in your mind. Talk to yourself. Imagine you're talking to friends. Imagine you're talking to customers. Imagine you're talking to anyone. Practice the language you already know. Don't try to use complicated words. Use simple words. Simple words are more powerful than complicated words. And remember one thing, something that changed Sarah's life. And maybe it will change yours too. Listen carefully. I want to say this sentence, and I want you to repeat it after me. Confidence is not built in one day. Confidence is built every day. Say it with me. Confidence is not built in one day. Confidence is built every day. Say it again. Confidence is not built in one day. Confidence is built every day. One more time. Confidence is not built in one day. Confidence is built every day. Never forget that sentence. Because when you speak English tomorrow morning, when you speak it the day after tomorrow, when you feel discouraged next month, you will remember this story. You will remember Sarah. You will remember that she was terrified too. And you will know that if Sarah could do it, then you can do it too. Every fluent English speaker that you see, every person who speaks confidently, they didn't wake up that way. They started exactly where you are right now. They were confused. They were nervous. They were unsure. They were afraid. But they kept going. They spoke every day. They practiced every day. And that's what made the difference. So please, start tomorrow. Just 20 minutes. That's all. 20 minutes of speaking English. 20 minutes of using the language, not studying it. 20 minutes that will change your life. Thank you so much for listening to Sarah's story. Thank you for listening to me. If this story inspired you, if this story gave you hope, please subscribe to our channel for more stories about English learning and personal transformation. These stories are designed to motivate you. These stories are designed to show you that you can do this. In the comments section below, I want you to write something. Write 20 minutes every day. Write it as a promise to yourself. Write it as a commitment. thousands of people will see your comment. Thousands of people will be reminded of their own commitment. You will be reminding them, and they will be reminding you. Remember, your dream to speak English fluently is not impossible. It's not a fantasy. It's not something that only special people can achieve. It's just 20 minutes away, every single day. That's all you need. Until next time, keep speaking, keep practicing, keep listening, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself. Your future is speaking English. Your future is confident. Your future is bright. Thank you, my friend. Goodbye.